what is the government telling them to do in terms of, whether it's Facebook, whether YouTube, some of the popular ones that we have here, Yahoo and others? What is it that you're saying that...
Look, one of the things that I must say that in this particular case, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government has been ahead of the curve. Right. We came out, the IT rules that came out in May of 2021, then were amended in October of 2022, and new amended IT rules that came out in February 2023, all talk about safety and trust of the internet. Right. It casts an obligation on all these platforms and makes it their responsibility to make sure that the content online on their platforms is not misinformation. Right. So therefore, there is under IT rules, and I don't want to bore your viewers with the details, but under Rule 31B, there are 11 issues that platforms cannot put on their platforms. Child sexual abuse material, for example, insightful content on the other side, patent violative content on the third side. But at the center of it, there is 31B5, which says misinformation, patently false information, they cannot carry on their platforms. If they carry on their platforms misinformation or deepfakes, then they are liable to be prosecuted under the Act, because the safe harbor, which is the protection, the immunity that they have, will fall away.
Can you just describe safe harbor for a lay audience, and by removing it, how does it...
So one of the things that we have to understand is that the act, the law that governs the internet and therefore these platforms is an IT Act. Right. It is a 22-year-old act. It was done in the time of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji in 2000, and then was subsequently amended during the UPA in 2008. One of the amendments that was put in the IT Act in 2008, in a blind following of the US model, was something called Section 79, which gives essentially immunity from any kind of prosecution to any internet platform. Oh. The narrative there at that time was that these platforms are not responsible for the content on their platform because some user does it. Right. So therefore, if you have to prosecute somebody, prosecute the user and not the platform. It's a clever way they manage that. I was on the IT committee those days, and I was the only one who opposed this for whatever it matters now. It's academic. But that safe harbor has caused platforms to not have a sense of good behavior or an obligation of good conduct. So we now see this toxicity, and at every instance of toxicity, the government unfortunately becomes the arbiter of a dispute between the platform and a user. Right. And I think it is clear with the IT rules now that we say that this safe harbor is conditional, and conditional on them addressing these 11 types of content which they cannot have on their platforms. And the way we will now regulate deepfakes is very simple. It is in the rules that we enacted in February 2023. If any platform has a deepfake, whether it's a messenger platform or a social media platform, and they have it on the platform despite their obligation not to put these kind of contents, but when it is reported to them there is such a deepfake, and they have 36 hours to remove it. If they do not, right, then the safe harbor falls away, and whoever is aggrieved, Raj Chengappa is aggrieved or Rajiv Chandrasekhar is aggrieved by the deepfake, can take them to court and criminally prosecute them under the IPC and under the IT Act.
And what is the term in that? Is it just a fine, or is it also
it is criminal. Impersonation of a person is a cognizable offence under the IPC. So therefore, there are many provisions under the criminal law that they were protected against by the safe harbor that was in place since 2008 which is the amendment during the UPA. That safe harbor now has been made conditional on their good conduct. And we will certainly, we are going to have a meeting with all the platforms on the 24th of this month. We will lay out how we consider the risk of deepfakes and misinformation to be a very severe risk, severe challenge, severe danger to the safety and trust obligation that we believe we owe to the people of India and to the users of the Indian internet. And we will lay out for them that we will not hesitate for every instance of the deepfake, to ensure that the Rule 7 under the IT rules, which is the withdrawal of the safe harbor will be invoked for them to be prosecuted in a court of law by whichever citizen or organization is aggrieved by the deepfake.
And what would be that you mentioned November 24th. How would the government go about it?
No, the government will has a standard operating procedure. We have been obviously taking a line that we wanted to create a fact check unit. The rules have been enacted already and they are notified. We wanted a fact check unit that would help the industry, help the platforms know what is wrong and right. That unfortunately got hijacked by some colleagues of yours in the editorial council saying it's an infringement of the freedom of speech, etc., and it went to court. That matter has been heard by the Mumbai High Court, and we hope that they will certainly rule on that issue of the fact check unit, because the fact check unit was developed as an idea to help platforms to understand what is right and wrong. If there is a video of, let us say, Rajiv Chandrasekhar as a minister or any other minister or any other politician saying something, certainly there should be some person to be able to tell them and guide them that this is false, for them to then act. I
think the concern was that the government was going to control much of it, that it should be an independent authority.
Again, Raj, unfortunately, and I say this with a great deal of responsibility, there is this, we conflate free speech with, we try and conflate free speech with, we necessarily think of these as binaries, that either it is free speech or it is some sort of a censorship. That is not true. Under Article 19(2) of our Constitution, there are reasonable restrictions on free speech that have been placed by those who amended Article 19 Jawaharlal Nehru's time. So therefore, in India, unlike the US First Amendment, free speech is not an unfettered absolute right. There are things that you cannot say in the name of free speech. And everything we are doing in terms of the law and the policy is consistent with 19(2). And therefore, there is no argument that there is a censorship. This is really about making sure deep fakes, misinformation, which are a clear and present danger to the safety and trust and orderly nature of the Indian internet, are dealt with in a manner where the platforms are held accountable under the law, not by the government, under the law, where they have the right to pleading their case in a court against whoever is aggrieved by the deepfake or the misinformation.